do you think that Ganondorf in Breath of the Wild 2 will regenerate his body and his powers will come back? Daniel, what do you think?
We get so little info from that trailer. It's hard to say if his body will regenerate or not, right? I mean, it's possible. I mean, often, like with boss fights, especially Ganondorf, right? There's always like multiple stages to it, right? In Ocarina of Time, he goes from like Ganondorf to then there's escape sequence and then Ganon, right? And Link to the Past, there's Egg and him you fight, and then you fight Ganon and Twilight Princess, etc. You get the idea. So I mean, like even Breath of the Wild, you got Ganon outside Hyrule Castle as Fart Cloud Ganon, and then you go and fight him in his horrific monstrosity Ganon, and then giant pig Dark Beast Ganon outside on Hyrule Field, right? So I could see if he's the final boss, we don't technically know. I could see them doing like multiple forms for him or something, or him trying maybe to like, revive himself in some way, because basically we just see his big zombie corpse in the trailer. So, but I mean, if they just kept that look, that's pretty scary. I would be down with him just staying looking like that too, to be honest, because he's pretty threatening looking like that. So,
all right,
yeah.
Tony, what are your hopes for?
I feel like they've got some transformation, at least in the boss fight side of things. So,
well, he always transforms. So if he doesn't, it'll feel like Nintendo just kind of left it out. But Tony, do you have any thoughts on Ganondorf from Breath of the Wild 2, or any hopes that you would like to see?
I mean, obviously we see his corpse and such, and I don't know what's trying to revive him, whether it's himself or a different entity. But I hope we don't end up really having to deal with Ganon or Ganondorf at all. I think that I'd like to go in a fresh direction, to be honest with you. I mean, it'd be interesting if someone's trying to revive him and they're trying to prevent it. And they have to deal with some other evil. But, I mean, a sequel is a good opportunity to explore things and move in a different direction that you couldn't go in the first game. And the first game, Calamity Ganon was this whole thing, and it was interesting and different compared to what Ganon's done in the past. But what can they do to really make him interesting in the sequel? I don't know. I think I'd rather see some other, insidious character be developed.
Yeah, what Nintendo has done in the past, and I never thought about it, but I kind of agree with Tony, and I think I could see it working out similar to this, where like in Ocarina, Majora's Mask, Wind Waker, you always knew who the bad guy was, and then in Twilight Princess they started sort of tricking you, at least they didn't
switch sort of,
to where it's like you see Zant and he's the bad guy for a long time, and then you find out he was given his power by Ganondorf. And it's a big twist towards the end. You don't even see or hear about Ganondorf until like way, way later. And it's sort of the same thing in Skyward Sword, to where Ghirahim is actively trying to resurrect Demise. And you don't know really who he is or what he looks like or anything. Because when you do see him for most of the game, he's in that weird big beast form that you have to fight like 3 times.
Form.
Yeah. So then when you do see Demise at the very end, and they try to make him look so menacing and evil, like Ganondorf on steroids or something with flaming hair. It is a big... there's a big difference between like what you kind of maybe expect from this giant beast and then this kind of smaller, skinnier enemy, and then it ends up being this guy that's basically the size of a Goron, swinging a sword that's bigger than you. And then it's an actual sword fight, which is what everyone kind of always wanted in a Zelda game. Like if you could swing your sword or swing your controller, and then Link could swing it in the real game, and you could have a real sword fight. And Nintendo kind of did that. And with Breath of the Wild, the situation I would like to see is somewhat reversed, to where someone may be trying to revive Ganondorf, but not because they're like worshipping him or in love with him, like we see the Yiga clan and all the other people that try to bring back Ganondorf in past games. If he's trying to bring back Ganondorf to take his power, because
also
he can't, because he can't, maybe the person can't steal the power, because along with Ganondorf's body, his power is also being sealed. So he's trying to break it in order to get his power. So if we've seen something to where Ganondorf comes back, and then halfway through, the boss fight with Ganondorf happens, and you win, but then there's still a bunch of game left, and you find out that the real boss is this other guy. So I would maybe like to see something like
actually.
that.
I think that would be a better flip on the formula, you know. Or it's like Super Mario RPG, and Bowser teams up with you, so Ganon teams up with you, but he's really nerfed, leaving your party, and you guys become really good friends and learn it's not about the destination, it's about the journey, and that's the theme.
All right, Tony, can
but
you see?
Actually, I think
Daniel.
Like on the sort of trend, if you go with it, a lot of Zelda games where if you have the same incarnation of Link in a second game, a lot of the time it's like. Not always, of course, because it's never always, but a lot of the times you have Ganon or Ganondorf as the villain the first time around, and then they have a second game. But so you like Link, A Link to the Past, and then Link's Awakening, for example, you have Ganon or Ganon, Egan and the Ganon, and then in Link's Awakening you have the Nightmare instead, and then Ocarina of Time you have Ganondorf and Ganon, and then Majora's Mask you have Majora's Mask, and then so forth. Wind Waker, you have Ganondorf again, and then Phantom Hourglass comes out, and it's not Ganondorf, it's whatever the villain was named. I forget, but the very forgettable leech villain guy.
In what game?
So the sort of trend in Phantom Hourglass, I forget what the villain's name was, but in a lot of those games where you have the same Link two times in a row.
No.
Nightmare was Link's Awakening.
Okay. The other
but game. Yeah, they have this sort of trend of giving Link a second adventure where, this time it's not Ganon. Even Zelda 1 and 2, Zelda 2, Ganon's minions were there, but it wasn't actually Ganon. The only time you saw him was if you got a game over screen.
Yeah, it was a giant
which we all did many times. So
that would be cool to see in 3D, fighting a giant Thunderbird.
That would be cool. Yeah. So it's they've been breaking tons of conventions, but if they were to follow that trend, then logic would have it that this is Link's second adventure, so hopefully it would be a different villain to follow that trend.
New. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. All right, Tony, we've had you on for a little over 2 hours. I was kind of hoping we could get through with everything in about an hour, and then the last 30 minutes would be the Q&A stuff, but we've gone on 30 minutes past that. So do you see a final question that you would like to answer? If you don't, I see one, but I don't know if anyone has a question specific to Tony about Hard for Games or some of the content that he does, please ask it.
See, there's a game about there's a question about post-game content in Breath of the Wild 2, if we think people, they'll allow you to continue after beating the game, and it's anybody's guess. It was neat to be able to do that in the Oracle games, but there wasn't much to do. I don't know. Let's see here. Should I play Skyward Sword for Wii or avoid it? Just play it. You may enjoy it.
It's very different. There is no other Zelda game like it.
That's true. I wouldn't say it's the best Zelda game. I played it and I never felt the need to go back to it, but it's I enjoyed it while I played it.
Yeah, a similar question. Lucy asks, should I get Ocarina of Time 3D and Majora's Mask 3D for 2DS? Yes, you should.
Sure. If you haven't played the originals, then absolutely.
Yeah, go for it. Majora's Mask has a couple of issues where mechanics of motion with some of the transformation aren't as fluid and as good as the N64 version, but there are also other elements of it that are better than the N64 version. The graphics, there's a fishing pond, there's easier saving in it, for example. So it's sort of a give and take, but I think Ocarina for the 3DS overall on all fronts is a better title.
Yeah, and it has the Master Quest free as well.
Yes, Master Quest and the Master Quest is mirrored. So you have both the difficulty and sort of the illusion of it being different because of it being mirrored.
You have to battle your muscle memory.
Exactly, which is another thing too. So
there is a question directly for you from Hylian Chambers, close to the bottom if you see it.
Oh, okay. Let's see. I saw a whole bunch of your mod playthrough. Oh, the chat's moving. I saw a whole bunch of your mod playthrough. Did you ever consider doing some good games from ZC Engine? I don't know what that is. Did you ever consider doing some
ZC
good games
Engine.
from ZC Engine? Is that a creator or is that an actual game engine? I'm not sure what that is.
The only thing I could think of is there's I don't know if there's a special tool that lets you do it, but it could be like
Zelda Classic.
Zelda Classic.
Zelda
Okay.
Classic. Okay, yeah, they clarified. So, no, I've never considered it because I never knew what it was.
There you go.
So a short answer, but a long answer. If you think it's something that I can I should look into. Yeah, I would. I'm always looking for something interesting.
I will say the coolest classic style Zelda game that I've seen that was a mod or a fan made thing was someone tried to make Ocarina of Time in 2D, but like had online functionality.
Okay.
And then there's also Melon speedruns worked on the Ocarina of Time online. So it's like the Nintendo 64 version, but it's also online. And they did Super Mario 64 that way as well. And he sent me Wind Waker online to share a while back as well, but I don't know if that's been updated at all.
Yeah, he messaged me about that recently too. Hylian Chambers sent me a link, which I'm going to check out. I probably can't formulate a real answer for you right now, just because there's a lot of information here, but I will definitely take a look, and I appreciate you sending it.
All right. Well, there are still, 57 people in the chat watching, so thank you everyone for watching. Tony, Hard for Games. Really quick, for the people that weren't here for the beginning part, give a brief overview of what they can expect from your channel and a specific video that you'd like for them to check out, or one coming up that they can look forward to. If you have any.
Well, just like you guys, we're big Zelda fans over on my channel. We deal less with theories and more with, taking a look at Zelda mods, beta content, in general, and beyond Zelda, we do a lot of lost media preservation. So that could be a beta version of a game. It could be a game that needs to be dumped off of a prototype cartridge of some sort, or it could be an old VHS tape from Germany that you've never seen, or a Laserdisc that was in a Nintendo kiosk that needs new life and has trailers and all sorts of great 90s nostalgia on it that nobody's seen. So we do a lot of media preservation and just trying to get everything nice and viewable easily, basically, and also make sure a lot of these lost games don't get lost forever. In terms of content on the channel, there's a lot of recent Zelda mod content that you guys might like. There's Star Fox 64 Survival, which is basically an Ocarina of Time mod where you have to, as Fox McCloud, as Link, survive 31 days. There is another one by Skylar Babcock where you get to play as the hero of time, but in Twilight Princess. So basically, he completely redid the model and some of the weapons and such. It's actually a really interesting and fun mod. So you can check those videos out on my channel if you'd like. As far as upcoming content, I have a bunch of dev hardware I'm going to be covering, but probably more quickly the next week or so. We're covering this Nintendo source book, which is from 1998. It has marketing materials. Oops, did I
just bumped my.
Oh, okay.
Luke's just like.
Luke in the chat says, "I love that mod." He does a lot of live streams with various different randomizers and fan-made mods and stuff. I think he did Melon's speedruns, and Benjamin says, "I love your channel, Hard for Games."
Oh, thank you.
And then Jessica donates $2. Will Breath of the Wild 2 be in the AOC timeline? Daniel, you spoke about this.
I have talked about. Well, we talked about this, I think, our last couple of podcasts now, but because everyone keeps asking, but, I'm gonna say no because. The sequel to Breath of the Wild, first of all, entered development before Age of Calamity was a thing. And also, Age of Calamity was developed by Koei Tecmo, not Nintendo's main Zelda team, which the Breath of the Wild sequel is developed by. And I'm pretty sure that any Zelda sort of thing developed by anyone other than the main Zelda team, they're just going to be its own separate thing, just to not limit themselves creatively, because that's how Nintendo is about it. So,
I think the easiest way to look at that is that at the very beginning, like, the fact that the timeline breaks off and goes to the past at the very beginning of the game before you can even start playing, I think that is supposed to let the audience know, hey, this is kind of its own thing. It's a spin-off, literally and story-wise.
Yeah, even the fact that this is the sequel to The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, and that is Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity. So I think even in their branding, they're trying to... So they sort of were putting distance between the two games that way as well. So also, if it were to follow the Age of Calamity timeline, spoilers for anybody Age of Calamity wise, but it's good grief. But even if they were to fall, it would cease to be the sequel to Breath of the Wild then, really, from a story standpoint at least. So
Yeah, it'd be the sequel
yeah,
to-
I'm gonna say no, but that's I could always be wrong, but I really don't think so. I think Nintendo's just keeping their Breath of the Wild and their Breath of the Wild sequel stuff just on its own sort of thing.
Before that
But,
super chat
sorry.
came in, Tony, didn't mean to interrupt you, but I wanted to get to the super chat really quick.
No worries. Yeah, no, there's some content coming up that I think you guys would like. I was going to mention that there's a source book for Nintendo, which has a bunch of marketing materials, unused logos, placeholder stuff, really interesting, weird, businessy stuff as well that will be up on the channel in the next couple of weeks as well. So I think it's something that you guys could all enjoy in addition to a lot of the mod content that we've covered in the past.
All right. Daniel, what's been going on with your channel lately? Do you have anything quick to announce to anyone, or to let them know where they can follow you at?
Yeah, well, all of my everything is at Capt Bergerson. Like the captain is a burger. That's my dad. So that's all of my things: Twitter, Instagram, Twitch, and of course YouTube. On my own channel, we've been streaming Age of Calamity. I think we're done the story side of things, but there's some extra side stuff we're not quite done yet. So we stream usually Tuesdays and Wednesdays on Twitch and YouTube, that multi-streaming. And a couple of nice videos went up recently. One video I'm quite proud of. We did what I've been doing, my series called Hyrule Tours, where it's just more of like an appreciation of scenery and gorgeous things in the games. It's not like theory stuff or anything, but we did that one with RMFH Rick. He sort of guested on that video with me in sort of exploring the scenery and the beauty of the Faron region and stuff. So it's very fun stuff. But again, it's like someone was saying, it's not exciting. It's really meant to be a relaxing video as well. Not like I'm not the kind of guy who comes into all my videos yelling at you through the microphone. So that's who I am. Otherwise, I'm always here on Jesse's channel for this very podcast you're watching right now every week as well. So that's me.
Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, everything at Capt Bergerson. And Tony, Hard for Games, everything at Hard for Games, youtube.com/hardforgames, Twitter/hardforgames. Do you have any other stuff that you would like to mention? Do you have a Twitch? Usually you I watch your live streams on YouTube. So
yeah, it's all we do everything on YouTube. I should get a Twitch at some point, but we don't. I'm on Twitch, but just as a user. But yeah, everything is Hard for Games with the numeral 4, and you can find us on Twitter, Instagram, primarily YouTube. Obviously, we do our content there, and obviously we'd love to have you come stop by.
You also have Patreon for supporters that would like to help contribute to the restoration and everything.
Yeah, so we have Patreon rewards. We have like cool little 3 modeled 64 disk drive replica discs. There's no information in them, but they're just like the casing basically. And then we have like a Patreon only Discord that we have. So we have some like fun perks and rewards for our Patreon people. So it's a fun little community that we've built up of our like hardcore people.
Awesome. All right. Thank you, Tony, for coming on and joining us. Sorry for the scheduling mishap last week and 2 weeks ago, and then tonight. Didn't mean to take up too much of your time, but thank you for going through all of it with us. And thank you to the 50 people. I don't know why you've been here for the whole 2 hours. So thank all of you. Give yourselves a pat on the back, and then go give Hard for Games and Capt Bergerson a follow and subscribe on their YouTube channel. Thank you, everyone, and good night.
Appreciate it. Bye.